Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston reunite for us all at the 2020 SAG Awards.
I'll run into Jen. She's a good friend.
Brad Pitt had no clue the cameras were still rolling when he shouted one word backstage, and what happened next sent millions of fans into a total meltdown. But let's rewind for just a second, because the whole night started out pretty ordinary. It was the 2020 SAG Awards, and both Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston were in the same building, but no one expected a moment quite like this. Now, Brad Pitt wasn't just at the awards, he was winning. He had just scooped up Best Supporting Actor for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and the night was already shaping up to be unforgettable for him. The stage lights were bright, fans were roaring, and cameras captured every single second as Brad joked his way through his acceptance speech. All eyes were on him. But something else was unfolding behind the scenes that Brad didn't see coming. Jennifer Aniston, Brad's famous ex-wife, had just picked up her own win, Best Actress for her role in The Morning Show. Everyone backstage knew what this meant. Two Hollywood legends, one place, one hallway, one epic reunion about to happen. As photographers scrambled backstage, Emma McIntyre, a Getty Images photographer with years of experience capturing those candid, behind-the-scenes moments, sensed something incredible was about to unfold. She raced back and forth between the two backstage areas, catching Jennifer signing posters and Brad making his way through the press circuit. Her instincts told her something big was on the horizon, and she was absolutely right. Brad was casually making his way down a dimly lit corridor, clearly oblivious to the buzz building around him. Emma positioned herself perfectly, just off to the side, to get a clear angle of whatever might happen next. This wasn't her first rodeo. She'd seen stars cross paths plenty of times, but something about this felt different, special even. Then, completely out of nowhere, Brad spotted Jennifer just a few steps ahead. Without even thinking, without realizing cameras were locked onto him, he shouted one simple word, "Aniston!" And just like that, Jennifer turned around. It was spontaneous, it was raw, and it was exactly the moment Emma had been waiting for. Brad didn't think twice before reaching out and grasping Jennifer's wrist. It was a gentle, almost instinctive gesture, one that said so much without saying anything at all. Jennifer's immediate response was to lean in, smiling brightly as she touched Brad's chest, an act of pure affection that fans hadn't witnessed in years. Emma's camera clicked at lightning speed. This was the shot she'd been hoping for, the kind of image photographers dream of capturing. Two massive Hollywood stars in a completely candid, honest interaction. What she caught on camera wasn't just a casual run-in, it was a genuine connection, one filled with years of history, respect, and unmistakable joy. As Brad gently held on to Jennifer's hand, the two of them stood there, lost in their own world, completely unaware of the photographers around them capturing every second. They were so absorbed in their brief reunion that it seemed as if the whole room had disappeared around them. For a moment, it wasn't about awards, Hollywood, or fame. It was simply Brad and Jen, two old friends genuinely thrilled to see each other succeed. Social media exploded within minutes. Twitter, Instagram, and every possible corner of the internet erupted as fans scrambled to share these once-in-a-lifetime images. Memes popped up by the hundreds. People wrote, "Brad and Jen, Brad and Jen, this is not a drill." It was clear, the world still rooted hard for Brad and Jen. But what exactly had everyone witnessed? Emma McIntyre, seeing firsthand how the images blew up the internet, emphasized how rare such candid moments truly were. These backstage encounters usually ended up blocked by hair, cell phones, or missed timing, but not this one. Her positioning was perfect, the angle ideal, and the expressions on Brad and Jen's faces, priceless. In the days following, fans scrutinized every detail of that interaction. Brad's relaxed, easygoing smile, Jennifer's bright, delighted eyes, her hand resting briefly on his chest, a gesture so casual yet packed with emotion. Everyone felt they'd seen something private and deeply personal, yet no one could look away. Even people who swore they didn't care about celebrity gossip found themselves drawn into the sheer excitement of it all. But the drama didn't stop there. Later in the evening, footage surfaced of Brad stopping backstage to watch Jennifer's acceptance speech. The camera caught him smiling softly, clearly proud and genuinely happy for her success. Fans could hardly contain themselves. This wasn't just two exes running into each other, it was deeper than that. It was two icons, both at the very peak of their careers, openly celebrating each other's wins in a way rarely seen among former Hollywood couples. Social media detectives didn't rest easy. When Jennifer posted pictures the next morning of her SAG Award and the vintage Dior dress draped casually over her bathtub, fans immediately speculated that Brad himself might have had a hand in removing it. Wild theories spiraled out of control. Could it really be possible? Yet, amidst the frenzy, Emma McIntyre simply smiled to herself. She'd witnessed something incredibly special. But for Brad Pitt, the reality still hadn't fully set in. He had no clue at the moment how his spontaneous action backstage had sent shockwaves through Hollywood and beyond. For him, it was just another moment, another reunion with someone he'd known for over 20 years. He had no idea that his single shout of Aniston, captured secretly and spontaneously, would reignite rumors, spark debates, and fuel speculation across the globe. But what Brad did next, and how he handled the aftermath, would surprise everyone even more. The world had waited years for a moment like this. Ever since Brad and Jen split back in 2005 after 5 years of marriage, fans had been desperate for a glimpse, any sign, that these two still had a spark. Brad had famously moved on quickly with Angelina Jolie, his co-star from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, starting a dramatic new chapter. But here he was again, all these years later, face to face with Jen. And now that the dust had settled from their reunion at the SAG Awards, everyone was asking, what would happen next? Fans eagerly tracked their every move. Would this moment backstage lead to something bigger? Were Brad and Jen secretly talking again behind closed doors? The speculation was endless, and honestly, people couldn't get enough. But here's the thing. The truth about their relationship was about to become clearer in a totally unexpected way. A few months later, Brad and Jen popped back up together again, this time virtually joining a star-studded fundraiser. It was September 17, 2020, and the world paused as two of Hollywood's biggest names reunited on screen for a charity reading of the classic film Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Brad logged in casually, and Jennifer showed up smiling. Just friends, they insisted. But fans held their breath. Would it be awkward? Would sparks fly again? The fundraiser wasn't meant to be a trip down memory lane for the exes. It was designed to raise money for pandemic relief, and the guest list was stacked. Julia Roberts, Matthew McConaughey, Shia LaBeouf, John Legend, Henry Golding, Dane Cook, Ray Liotta, Morgan Freeman, and of course Jennifer and Brad. But no one paid much attention to the cause at first, because right there in the middle of all the squares on screen were two faces the world hadn't seen together like this in years. Brad started it. With a relaxed smile, he greeted his ex with a friendly, "Hi, Aniston," and Jen, without skipping a beat, fired back with a warm, "Hi, Pitt, how you doing, honey?" That was it. That was all it took. Twitter was gone. People screen-capped the moment instantly, dissecting every pixel of their expressions. But then came the scene. In one of the most uncomfortable setups of the night, Brad voiced Brad Hamilton, the teenager from the original 1982 film. Jennifer took on the role of Linda Barrett, the poolside fantasy girl made famous by Phoebe Cates. The script required them to read through a steamy fantasy sequence where Brad's character daydreams about Linda in a swimsuit. Yes, that scene. Morgan Freeman, narrating with his legendary voice, read the description aloud, including every raunchy line. Julia Roberts, playing the role of Stacey Hamilton, Brad's little sister, was all smiles and clearly enjoying the chaos. Matthew McConaughey nodded along like a proud uncle, and Jimmy Kimmel, he couldn't stop laughing. It was pure madness. Jennifer and Brad laughed through the awkwardness. But even as they stumbled through the sultry lines, neither seemed embarrassed. They were completely at ease with each other. No tension, no weird energy, just chemistry. And fans noticed. Even the other actors noticed. Julia Roberts looked like she was having the time of her life. Her grin practically said what everyone was thinking. Are they seriously this chill right now? The bashfulness in Brad's smile, the way Jennifer laughed lightly after her lines, the glances they shared on screen, it was all too much for the internet to handle. Every moment got clipped, posted, and reposted. People turned the virtual reading into a meme playground. But deep down, fans weren't just laughing, they were wondering, was this more than just good acting? Was there still something there? Jennifer tried to shut down the speculation pretty quickly. She addressed it not long after, saying that yes, she and Brad were just friends. No bad blood, no unresolved feelings, just mutual respect and genuine care. And maybe that's all it was. But try telling that to the people watching that night. For them, that moment had too much warmth to be dismissed. Still, Jennifer had made her feelings clear years before. In 2006, during a Vanity Fair interview just 1 year after the divorce, she opened up with grace. She said she had no regrets. She'd loved Brad deeply and would always care about him. Their relationship had been intense, layered, full of healing and laughter. 7 years together had shaped them both. And even after the heartbreak, she admitted she hoped one day they could be friends again. So when that hope actually became reality in 2020, it felt like a full-circle moment. And maybe that was the real twist all along. Fast forward to February 2025, 5 years after that now legendary reunion photo at the SAG Awards. People still hadn't stopped talking about it. That single frame of Brad holding Jen's hand had become iconic. Fans had it saved, printed, and even tattooed. Brad's life had become more complicated than anyone outside his inner circle could imagine. After his divorce from Jennifer Aniston in 2005, the world watched him dive headfirst into a whirlwind relationship with Angelina Jolie. It started as a Hollywood fantasy, but by 2016 it had crashed into something far darker. That year, everything unraveled in the most public, brutal way possible. Angelina filed for divorce, and what followed was 8 years of silence, legal chaos, and explosive revelations. It began on a private jet. September 14, 2016. Brad, Angelina, and their 6 children were flying home from Chateau Miraval, their sprawling vineyard estate in France. What was supposed to be a family trip spiraled into a nightmare. According to court filings later released, Brad allegedly exploded into a rage mid-flight. Angelina claimed he grabbed her by the head, shook her, and slammed her against the bathroom wall. She said he yelled, accused her of undermining him with the kids, and became physically violent, not just with her but with the children. One of the kids reportedly stepped in to protect her. And that's when things got worse. Brad allegedly lunged at his own child. Angelina tried to pull him back, but in the struggle he threw himself backward, injuring her elbow and back. Then came more horror. Jolie's filing said he choked one child and struck another in the face. And when it was over, he poured beer on her. Beer and red wine on the kids. The world didn't know those details at first. All they saw was the divorce filing. But behind the scenes, the FBI and Child Services launched investigations. No charges were filed. The public was left in the dark for months. Then, slowly, pieces of the truth leaked out. Heavily redacted FBI reports, court documents, photo evidence. It painted a version of Brad Pitt that didn't fit the charming, laid-back persona he showed the world. And while Brad denied the claims through representatives, the damage to his image and his family was undeniable. The custody battle dragged on. In 2021, a judge granted Brad joint custody, but that ruling was thrown out when the judge was disqualified for failing to disclose ties to Pitt's legal team. Jolie kept fighting. The kids, now older, made their own choices. Some stopped seeing him, some stayed silent. All of them moved out of his orbit. By the end of 2024, Angelina and her children had left every one of Pitt's properties behind. He rang in 2025 alone, officially divorced, legally unburdened, but emotionally isolated. For Brad, the spotlight felt harsher than ever. He stayed quiet in the press, declined interviews, and kept appearances to a minimum. His career was steady, but the warmth around his name had cooled. The charming rebel everyone once loved was now the subject of legal headlines, complicated custody reports and viral court filings. He'd become more guarded, more private. But behind all the noise, one person had quietly stayed in his life: Jennifer Aniston. And that's where things got interesting. Because while Brad's world was breaking apart, Jennifer was rising higher than ever. The morning show had turned her into one of the most respected actors in the industry. Critics raved. Her peers applauded. She'd gone from America's sweetheart to an unstoppable force. At 50, she was proving that women in Hollywood could shine on their own terms. Powerful, in control, unapologetically herself. But what caught people off guard was how calm and gracious she remained, especially when the topic of Brad came up. In a 2021 interview on The Howard Stern Show, just months after their virtual reunion, Jennifer spoke plainly. No drama, no spin. She called Brad her friend, just that, a buddy, someone she still spoke to, someone she was comfortable around. There was no bitterness, no awkwardness, no need to perform for anyone watching, and you could tell she meant it. Her words didn't come with a side glance or a forced smile. They came with the kind of peace that takes years to earn. The kind of peace that says, I've been through it, I've learned from it, and I'm no longer carrying the weight. She'd carried enough already. Long before Angelina, Jennifer had watched her marriage collapse in the public eye. She'd smiled through interviews, answered questions about babies and betrayal, and she never fought back with tabloid gossip. Even when it hurt, even when the headlines spun out of control, she took the high road every time. Back in 2004, when Brad was about to begin filming Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Jennifer ran into Angelina Jolie at Warner Brothers Studios. She introduced herself, wished her a great shoot, and said Brad was excited to work with her. No one knew how prophetic those words would become. Because just a year later, Jen's marriage was over. Brad had fallen in love with his co-star. And Jen, blindsided, stepped back quietly while the world picked sides. She never spoke with venom. Even after the divorce, she told Vanity Fair she felt lucky to have shared those years with Brad. She said she still loved him, would always love him, and hoped that someday they could be friends again. By 2025, she'd gotten her wish. But not because of a reunion. Not because of some fairy tale ending, because she'd chosen to live without hate, and because Brad, bruised, broken, and a bit lost, had found something familiar in her calm. But just when things started to quiet down for Brad Pitt, chaos found him again. This time, in the middle of a roaring Formula One Grand Prix in Mexico. It was supposed to be a normal filming day. Brad had shown up in full racing gear, shooting scenes for his upcoming movie F1, playing retired driver Sonny Hayes in a high-speed comeback story. The project had been a passion piece, years in the making, shot with real F1 teams, backed by Apple for more than $130 million, and co-produced by Lewis Hamilton. The first trailer had already dropped during the British Grand Prix, and buzz was growing by the minute. Brad looked happy, focused, back in his element. But then, in the middle of that energy, something completely unexpected happened. While walking through the pit area, waving to fans and removing his helmet, a woman pushed through the crowd. She wasn't just holding her phone, she had it aimed directly at him. Before security could react, she reached out, grabbed him by the neck, and planted a kiss on his cheek. Just like that. Brad flinched. You could see it in the footage that quickly went viral. He tried to pull back, clearly caught off guard. His security stepped in instantly, peeling the woman away as she laughed, unfazed by what she'd done. But the internet wasn't laughing. Fans exploded in outrage. They flooded social media, calling the woman disgusting, disrespectful, and creepy. Comment after comment echoed the same message. This wasn't okay. It was a violation. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't flattering. It was harassment, plain and simple. Still, Brad stayed calm. Later, sources close to him said he wasn't angry. Shocked, yes, but not shaken. He wasn't the kind of guy to blow up over a moment like that. According to insiders, he was just relieved it was a kiss and not, in his words, a punch in the face. And that said everything about where Brad Pitt is now. He's not here for drama, not interested in more headlines. He's just trying to move forward one step at a time. The truth is, Brad's been through enough. A public divorce, brutal custody fights, accusations that rocked his reputation, losing parts of his family, watching his life get dragged through courtrooms and tabloids for 8 straight years, and through it all, he never snapped, never lashed out. He kept working, he kept showing up, he stayed quiet. And now, he's focused on F1, on his craft, on doing something bold again. The film, directed by Joseph Kosinski, stars Javier Bardem, Kerry Condon, Damson Idris, and more, and is set for release on June 27, 2025. It's sleek, it's fast. It's exactly what Brad needs right now. A clean slate on a fresh track. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.